Live. Okay, so this is Callie Bird's first live. Hi everyone. My name is Sam. I'm a writer at Wandering Willow. I'm a forest therapy guide, and I have today with me Callie Bird. Um, she's a coach, if I can say that.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay.
um, and we're gonna be talking about trees because like we love it. And I want to say it again, like this is her first live, so hype it up, y'all. Let's go.
Hi there. Shall I? Yeah, hi everybody. So thanks for joining today. This is really exciting. Doing my first Substack live. I'm feeling very safe hands with Sam. I know she's done loads of them. So yes, today I bought a ring light. I've set my kit up. Here we are. Um, yeah. So I'm very much like Sam. I am very much into trees, and I have quite a funny story about that. I first started coaching 20 years ago, so 2005. And in my background, I've got corporate background, and I'm also a chartered accountant or CPA for those of you in the US. But I never worked as an accountant, but I pay, I don't know, £300 a year to have the letters ACA after my name. Okay. And all I've ever done with them all these years is sign people's passport photos because I'm like an official person because I've got this professional qualification and you can sign passport photos and ID papers for people. And then when I started coaching, um, people commented that, oh, you've got ACA. And I used to say, yeah, I'm not a tree hugging life coach. Because sort of back in the early noughties, there was an explosion of coaching, people of all different spectrums of where they were and where, and how touchy feely and tree huggy they were and weren't. And I was a bit scathing a tree huggy then. So that's what I used to say. I'm not a tree hugging life coach. Now let's fast forward 20 years, because in the last 5 years, I definitely am a tree hugger. I love trees. I have my favorite tree, which is called Granny Oak. She's in a park near me. I started visiting her about 5 years ago. It was during the pandemic. Um, my husband used to send me when I was feeling agitated and stressed because he knew I would come back home calmer. And I was, so I sort of, yeah, started visiting this one tree. Um, and I called her Granny Oak because she's an oak tree. And I was quite stressed at the time. Um, and when I used to lean against her, it felt like, like your granny or sort of a nice, sort of kind, elderly sort of person with loads of wisdom. It felt like she was giving me a hug and saying, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. So yeah, it's quite funny. So I've gone from I'm not a tree hugger to I am a tree hugger. And it is quite funny because in the last year I've resurrected this coaching business. And, now I talk about trees and being in tune with nature and stuff. So it's totally different from all those years ago.
Yeah. So what shifted for you? Like to go from I'm not a tree hugging life coach to literally hugging trees.
I think it's probably a number of things. I think it's becoming more in tune with my body because in the last few years I've gone through long COVID, chronic fatigue. Um, for years, I pushed and pushed through tiredness. I was in the corporate world. I had this creative side. So I used to work 3 days a week in my day job, and 2 days a week to do sort of a bit of coaching, a bit of writing. So I think in time, just becoming more in tune. I'm in my late 50s now. So as a woman going through menopause, that's sort of a 10, 12-year process. I think also you become more in tune with yourself, and what used to work to get you through stops working, which I think is what perimenopause is so tricky because you're all over the place and sometimes you don't know why and you haven't, and your strategies don't work anymore and you need to find new strategies. So I think, yeah. And also I moved out of London. I used to live in central London. I haven't said that. I still had my favorite trees in my nearby parks in London. So even 10 or more years ago, that I had a favorite tree in the next door park that I would just pop out my house and go and visit again for like a break. And if I was stressed or worried. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I think I've always loved trees. I just think when you look at an old tree, when you see a tree with a big, thick, you know, I can't think what it's called. Words gone.
Trunk.
Trunk. Trunk.
Booty. I was gonna say
Yeah.
booty. It'll be
Um,
silly. A trunk.
you just know. You just know it's 100, 200 years old, if not more. And it's seen everything. It's
Yeah,
seen all the human folly, all the good stuff, all the crap stuff. It's seen us come and go, and it's still there. So I've always had that feeling that, trees are really wise. So yeah, and I guess in more recent times, I just sort of have an antenna when I'm out somewhere. I kind of have an antenna of, oh, there's nice trees here, or, and I go and visit, and sure enough, there's some really old, beech trees or oak trees, or I don't know. I've developed a tree antenna.
I love that. I like Spider-Man, so like I was just like, oh, her tree sense is tingling. Like
Yeah.
it's like Spider-Man says his spider sense is tingling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a nerd a little bit. I love how you said though, like basically listening to your body and realizing the old ways weren't working was really what brought you to the trees because same dude, like
Yeah.
and I wonder how big of a role like 2020, like the events of 2020 played into all that too, because it was after 2020 that it really happened for me. In 2022, I walked away from my job because I was having panic attacks um, and like the only thing that could help was to get in nature, like on the ground, literally like lay down and feel like the earth beneath me. That was like the only like real support that I felt. And
I
then like the trees too.
Yeah. Yeah, because I walked away from a job in 2021. So when I first started going to see Granny Oak, I was doing a CBT course for anxiety, which wasn't that great. I mean, it wasn't pitched at the issues I was having. And I used to do the course. It was online because it was pandemic. And I used to do it on a Monday morning. And this course was like, I don't know, 10 till 12 or 10 till 11:30. And I started going out, and this is when I sort of discovered Granny Oak, and sort of made friends with her. I mean, I sound like a real freak. I don't know. I go through this thing. Am I just crazy, or do I get messages from them? I don't know. I don't care because it brings me comfort. But, but yeah, that's when I first started going every Monday morning, because this course was on a Monday, to Granny Oak. And then when the course finished, I noticed then then I would be in a much better frame of mind to do this course, having grabbed a coffee, gone in, and just had that sort of half hour. So, and it was winter, but I didn't care. Just put my hat and gloves on. Off I went. And then I just kept it up. And every Monday morning for many, many months, I would go and see Granny Oak. And that saw me through that time because I crashed and burnt out of work. I had to take time off that Christmas. And then I knew, I guess, yeah, the life I had just wasn't working for me. And I knew I needed to take some time out to be creative, just more than I was doing. And it wasn't working. It's like you keep soldiering on, don't you? You need the money. You think, I can't just stop doing this, so
Yeah.
you sort of do a similar thing. And so, yeah, this weekly sort of appointment with Granny Oak just gave me that sort of steadiness and a theme for the week. And sometimes I thought about my day job and had ideas, and other times, it just gave me sort of something to reflect on that week. And that was 5 years ago.
That's really cool. I love that you gave that to yourself, like a weekly, like a kind of like a standing therapy appointment with a tree, right?
Yeah,
Like
we
I
did.
love
It's like, yeah,
it.
it's like fiction. Yeah.
Some people joined. Hello to Mama Carol and
Thank you for
and
joining.
Eddie says he too talks to trees. So I noticed at one point you said like, I'm hearing stuff like, am I crazy? And I actually don't really care. And um yeah, now I'm noticing like, okay, I feel weird saying that, but yeah, I've totally hurt trees. And like I've written about it, like we've written about it on our Substacks about like the wisdom that we've gained being near the trees. And I guess for me, like I'll elaborate a little bit. Um when I'm in the trees, in the trees, amongst the trees, because I'm on the ground. I'm not a tree climber.
No,
So
no, me neither. No, I'm just
yeah,
leaning up
and I
against them
actually
and touching them. Yeah.
yeah, I actually like being close to the earth anyway. So just sitting on the ground near the trees or against trees or whatever, surrounded by trees, like however I can get my tree vibe on, right? And for me, when I can just get like relaxed into the space and like into my body and my mind empties, stuff will just come in. And so like whether you want to say like I cleared my mind and was able to hear my higher self, or like it was from the trees, like I mean everyone's welcome to like interpret that however they feel like it. But for me, yeah, I feel like it's from the trees because there's like a different energy of the different places I go. And I mean, but they always have this like really supportive energy to them that it's kind of hard to describe. It just feels like home in a way. And each place is different. I think that's more difficult to describe, like the energy of the different places.
Yeah.
Um yeah, well, I mean, you could probably like say that because you visit like a lot of places.
I have recently I've been on a bit of a tree fest of late. So so yeah, there's granny oak in my local park because and again I sort of done this for a few years. I like to hold the leaf and then hold the leaf of another branch in my hand. So I feel like I'm plugging in, like completing the circuit. And I feel that it's not that it gives me a boost of energy, but it is energizing, or I don't know. It's like I'm taking it's it's like when you on a battery, you connect positive and negative, don't you? And when you've got the 2 points
Yeah,
connected,
that's
that's
interesting. I love
and,
that. Yeah,
and
I
yeah,
I
and
always
again I
grab
can
a
do that.
leaf. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm quite
it's
tall,
cool.
so I can reach up. But there is something about grabbing not the same leaf, but another strand hanging down. I quite like doing that. And I like when I'm with Granny Oak or any other tree, because I've often got a coffee, I've got a takeaway cappuccino with me, and that's a nice little treat, get a coffee, go for a walk. But I have to sort of put the coffee cup down or just hold it to my knees, or because again, it's that connection. I have to kind of put both hands. If it's winter and it's cold, it's gloves off. I have to connect with both hands. Um, and I don't know, and somehow over these years, it's like I have made friends with two or three trees in this vicinity because it's I mean it is on one hand it is mad. I don't know, is it hocus? Am I just crazy? But I do think we are. I think there was a time when people were much more in rhythm with the land, and we've lost that, and perhaps we're beginning to get that back. So in terms of recently, in the last couple of months, I travelled. So I live in Bedfordshire, UK, which is about like an hour's drive north of London, um, and to the west of the UK, where Stonehenge is. You've probably seen sort of pictures of Stonehenge. Stonehenge is in a county called Wiltshire, and there's some really old forests there. So last year's visit to Stonehenge, the lady at the hotel where I was staying, she told me about this forest where some of the stones from Stonehenge came from, and it was about like half hour's drive north. So I went there this year. So and again, I had a hotel and I stayed there for a couple of days. But when I was trying to find my hotel, I missed it. It was on my right. I was looking on my left, so I drove straight past it. And then again, I was in this very wooded area, and I thought, oh, these are really nice trees. Again, there's just sort of this sixth sense of, oh, good old trees here. Anyway, but I went the next day. I found this forest, and to be honest, it was a bit boring, and there weren't many old trees. But there was a park ranger there, and I said, hey, if this forest is so ancient, why? I mean, there are mature trees, but they weren't old. And he said, oh, if you want old trees, you need Savanac Forest. There's 1,000-year-old oak trees there. And it was this forest I'd driven by the previous day when I'd sort of missed my turn up at the hotel. And there was just loads of like a lot of old beech, sweet chestnut, oaks, and including this 1,000-year-old. Well, there's more than 1,000-year-old tree there. And I kind of went on this wild goose chase and couldn't find it initially, and my phone battery was dying. And I was kind of writing a newsletter sort of as I went each day to have something to publish on the Friday when I published. And then, yeah, the next morning I went back and I found this 1,000-year-old oak tree. And yeah, just touching it when I approached it, and it was 8 o'clock in the morning, nobody else was there. Um, Again, just touching it, it felt like I was touching eternity. and in the UK and in Europe, we're used to things being old. The church in my hometown is 800 years old. So we're used to being around things which are hundreds of years old. But this tree was older than that. It was older than most of the old churches that are everywhere in Europe. So yeah, and again, I just sort of, I don't know, I get this message. I always find myself thanking trees for their service. And we've had drought this last summer, climate change. And, when I go out and I can see all the shrubbery is sort of just like that, I find myself apologizing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for human beings. I'm so sorry you're suffering because of us. But yeah, so I found this, it's called the Cathedral Oak. And then recently I was in a churchyard in London. And again, it's a very old churchyard, very old sort of site of worship, Christian. It was Celtic before that. And again, there was just to feel it, this energy. And I don't know what the energy was in this, like a circle of trees. When you get trees in a circle, I think of them as a council, like, this council of wise elders. And
Yeah,
that was
there's some
quite a
lore
weird
to that
energy.
too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when things are in a circle, there's a lot of lore to that. Like that's like a portal actually too. I think
Yeah.
that's really
Um,
cool.
yeah. So yeah, I've often, sought out council of trees and, but yeah, so I'm just, at the moment, I'm just letting it happen. I'm just leaning into it. I'm writing about it, and people do seem to like it. I must admit, people, when I come write about the sort of messages I get from Granny Oak, and it's just like, trust the process or look after yourself or take care. It's very sort of small, wise snippets. And, and I write about them, and I must admit, I do get comments like, Callie, this is exactly what I needed to hear today, or thank you, that was just so good. So I don't know. We're not alone.
Yeah, yeah. I get the same things. Like it's very short and succinct. And it's always like just exactly what you need to hear,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know, where does it come from? Is it our sort of higher power? I don't know. Sometimes, because when I approach Granny Oak nowadays, I'm thinking, I wonder what she's going to say, or I'm trying to preempt it. I usually go when I'm not feeling great, when I'm stressed, when I'm kind of stuck, and then it's like, go and see Granny Oak. So I'm pondering that, and these days I try and second guess what she's going to say. But when I get there, sometimes just something will just get stuck in my head, and it won't get unstuck. It's like, no, this is what you need to know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that coming from the land? Is just being somewhere like that helping me access my own wisdom? I don't know. Is it a bit of both? Who knows? I don't care. It works for me.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think it's just really like personal belief. But like you were saying earlier, we used to be really in touch with the land, like our ancestors were really in tune with the land. And what's coming to mind right now is the work of, wow, my throat is killing me. I'm so sorry. The work of Robin Wall Kimmerer. She's an indigenous biologist, author. I think it's a biologist. She's a scientist and she's also an author. And she weaves like the science along with the traditional like indigenous ways of being with the land.
Yeah.
And her book Braiding Sweetgrass is really great. I'm not sure if you've ever read that, but I'd highly
No.
recommend that.
What's it called? Brave Sweet Grass.
Braiding Sweetgrass. Yeah.
Brave. I have to write that down now. I haven't got a pen. No, can you email that to me afterwards?
Okay, yeah, let me write that down.
I haven't got a pen. I got a notebook, but no pen. Because that sounds interesting. Because a lot of, I should say, a lot of what we would call woo stuff, it is sort of science is catching up for it, or being able to explain certain phenomena.
But yeah, in that book she talks about a lot of how like we learned from the plants. We learned their names from the plants. Like they told us. Like basically like the plants told us like how to use them, how to work with them, how to gather them. like the plants told us,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I feel like the earth is just calling us back to her and like, hey, like, remember how we used to hang out? Like, let's do that somewhere. you know that's my 2 cents, I
But
guess.
people did used to live in harmony with the land. I mean, especially, in North America, indigenous people, they were in tune with the land. And then, white European settlers like me arrived and just stripped it, over a
Yeah.
couple of centuries, didn't we? And, and it's the same everywhere. We're not in harmony with the land. People used to plant their crops with the moon and stuff like that, didn't they? And I think some of those rituals, um, again, that very grounding. Um, and we've lost that groundedness. I think because we don't do, 150 years ago, you did more physical chores. You chopped wood, you built the fire, you grew more of your own food. Maybe you'd have to butcher an animal now and then and whatever, but it was more practical. And we've lost that because we just go to the store and get what we want. It's grown 2 continents away out of season.
Yeah.
We have lost that. But yeah, as you say, perhaps Mother Earth is finding ways of calling us back because we need to, don't we? Hello, pussycat. Um,
It's my cat's butt. His name is
yeah,
Han.
it's lovely.
He likes to make an appearance.
But we again, a bit like when we were talking, about perimenopause, like the way we've been living as humans isn't working anymore, And as you say, and that has accelerated since the pandemic, hasn't it? I think, we're going to need more time into the future to really be able to see that. But a lot of things that we did, say in our work or whatever, families, routines, the way we get paid, all of that, it's all not working in the same way, isn't it?
That's so true, yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's becoming clearer and clearer almost every day how, like, things are just not working, and we really need to do something different, like, radically different. Like, talk to trees and listen to them, right? Like,
Yeah. And I like how you say, again, if you go back to, those cultures who just, lived on the land, then that, yeah, they knew and like medicine and stuff like that. I mean, those sort of, cultures that those people knew that if you had this kind of sickness, you had that kind of plant, or you rubbed this on it, or you made a poultice from this. And we've, we've lost that. And it's great, advances in modern medicine are amazing. We can't knock that, but it doesn't sort everything. And then we've abused that, and now we've got things that are resistant to antibiotics, and we go back to plants because I'm a big fan of homeopathy, which again is sort of plant remedies that work differently in the body from just treating a sort of symptom. So, um, but I think we need to trust because again, like you, I haven't been in a day job for a while. I do have an income stream from a property I own, which is keeping me going at the moment. So I feel really blessed about that. But it is a case. I wrote a newsletter today. Am I deluded or is it intuition? Because I'm very much for journaling, very much, and again, feeling in my body. Shall I do this or shall I do that? And I've learned that every time I go, should I do this, whatever that might be, every time I utter the word should, I know that the answer is no. But it's a case of trusting that because I'm also thinking, my God, am I, am I going to be broke in a few years' time? Am I crazy? Like, should I be doing X, Y, Z now to make sure I'm fine in 5 years' time? Or should I just trust? And, and my heart says trust. And I have no proof, ask me in 5, 10 years' time how this is going, but I feel like my body won't let me do otherwise.
mm,
And I've come through long COVID chronic fatigue, but that also teaches you to sort of really feel what's happening in your body and rather than overriding the signals that we get. So yeah, we are having to trust that whatever's happening to go with it and explore it.
Yeah, and trust has really been the theme of the past, like, well, 3 years when I walked away from my job because, I don't really have another income stream, so it's been rough. But the other choice I mean, the only choice I really had was to keep going and have a panic attack every day, and I
Yeah.
really feel like that would have led to, like, serious consequences, like,
Yeah.
it felt like I was having a heart attack every day, right?
Yeah.
And, like, that's not healthy, like, that's not a way to live, and even though, like, things are tough, like, financially, like, I'm physically in a much better place.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, like, if you would identify as, like, a highly sensitive person, but yeah.
Yes,
So
please.
I think there's something to that, you I wanna say, like, you're more in tune with your body, but it's not natural, like, you have to kinda learn, like, what's going on in your body and to, like, honor that because for me, again, with the jobs, like, I was just pushing through and just, like, killing my body and nervous system and everything, and just having to come back to, like, my body is, like, what's keeping me alive and, like, listen to it and stop forcing it. And I think when you're able to listen to your body more, you're able to listen to, like, the nature that's around you because your body is nature. Like,
Yeah.
it's where like, it's made up of that stuff. And
Mm.
so, yeah, like you said, like, with, like, batteries and stuff, it's kinda like you're just plugging in, like, when you're fully in your body and aware of your body and your senses
Yeah.
and, like, settled in that, like, you can just plug into nature and just get what you need, you know? And give back too, right? Because I
Yeah.
think, reciprocity is super important. That's one of the things we learned um, in ANFT, Association of Nature and Forest Therapy, when I became a, nature and forest therapy guy. Reciprocity is a really big thing. It's giving back to nature, and that can be in, like, any way that feels good to you. Even a simple thank you,
Yeah.
is reciprocity, right? Because 'Cause we're
Yeah.
talking about, like, talking to the trees and gaining the wisdom and all this stuff, and it's like, get, and it's just like, "Okay, well, what am I giving back?" Right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, so for me, like, I think honestly just being near them is, like, kind
Mm.
of like reciprocity in a way. And,
Yeah.
technically it actually is because like, when we breathe, we're breathing them in, and they're breathing us in when we
Yeah.
exhale, like, the carbon dioxide and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. We kind of need everybody. Yeah. And, and I don't know. I mean, human beings can be very destructive, but we're also preserving them or managing woodlands or helping, sort of, y- when there's disease in trees, there's human strategies are trying to combat that. So it does need everybody. And when you look at like tree networks of all like the insects and all the life forms and the way sort of, yeah, if trees are being attacked by a wasp or something, they just put out some funny fragrance, don't they? And then the predator goes away. It is fascinating, that whole interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
And as you say, for us to find our place in that reciprocity of that, I have to remember that. I mean, I do frequently thank the trees and sort of stroke them. But yeah, that's a good point. Is how can we give back to the natural earth as well?
Yeah, and I try not to overthink that one, right? Like, just a simple, like, "Thank you," yeah, is totally enough.
Yeah,
Gratitude, I think is a little underrated. A simple thank you can go a really long way.
yeah,
So, just thanking the trees and I mean, honestly, like, I like to thank, like, all the elements and, like, whatever's out there, right? Like,
mm,
the air and the sky and the clouds and the sun, like, that's that's my new jam. It's just to say hello to everything out there,
yeah,
like, and yeah, like, "Hey, thanks," you know?
yeah. And it's good to notice that, isn't it? It's good to, when we're going about our day, just notice. And I think as well that because I learned that long COVID is exacerbated by sort of dysregulation of the nervous system. And I know long before getting COVID, I know this anxiety thing from 5 years ago, which is before I got COVID. My system was maxed out. I think my nervous system, now I've learned about it, was shot to pieces. Um, and yeah, it's been a process of learning, yeah, how to be in yourself, how to be aware of stuff outside, how to thank yourself and your body for things to, sort of sending love has been a big part of my recovery and being loving to myself. And because I always used to curse my body for all my adult life. I cursed my body. It would let me down when I wanted to do things that were dear to my heart. And I've learned totally to change that and have that, yeah, loving spirit to myself and send love and guidance. If you've got an ache or a pain or something's not going right in the body, I don't curse it anymore. So yeah, I think all of these things, I think, accumulate, don't they, in terms of resetting our nervous systems. It's not any one thing. And I think people are so aware of that now because, just looking at Substack notes, you see a lot of stuff about, oh, my nervous system is this, my nervous system is that. There is so much burnout and even if people aren't aware in the way we're talking today about things changing, they still know that stuff isn't working anymore, or it's people we know we're out of kilter, don't we? And
Yeah.
there is, no matter how conscious you are of it, and I say people like you and I are probably very conscious of it, but even, those less highly sensitive people, it's still, I don't know, we just are in this time of change, aren't we?
Yeah, and I love that you named it because you're right, like, some of us are like, we have no choice but to be like a sponge and just tuned in and, like, a live wire at all times, so, like,
Mm.
we're in it. And then some people, like, are not and, like,
Yeah.
a little jealous, like, um, but yeah, like, some people aren't, and, like, that's okay, but they're definitely feeling it on some level, and it's
Yeah.
probably difficult for them to name.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, just that everything is a lot, and, like, the collective energy is totally heavy, and I don't know, like, yeah, I think that's why, like, we go to the trees because they can definitely, like, hold it for us
Yeah.
and hold us.
Yeah.
And, you know, I noticed you talked about, just, like, that relationship with your body and, like,
Yeah.
and just like, having more self-compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that's so important, and I feel like there's just, like, so many ways we can hate our bodies, right? Unfortunately. And, like, I feel like especially as women, but I know, like, that applies to everyone, like, be it for how it looks or how it feels or how it acts and stuff, and, I don't know, I think that's just, like, one of my favorite things about nature is, like, I don't have to worry about how I look out there, or what I'm capable of doing, like, I can just exist. And I'm held and I'm seen and, like, it just feels good. Like, it feels like I can be, like, in my own skin, like, in nature
Yeah.
by myself. I will say,
Yeah.
like, with myself.
Yeah, I like solo wandering as well. I must admit, when it comes to, especially like, yeah, feeling the trees, I do need to be on my own. I can't do that with other people. So if I'm out somewhere, I'm with other people and I sort of, yeah, clock, oh, I like those kind of trees. I have to go back on my own. I can't do this with other people. And maybe I could if it was you and I in the forest, we probably could. Um, but, but yeah,
Yeah,
there is
I
something about being alone and with however you are. I mean, there's times I haven't been able to walk because of long COVID of more than like 10 minutes or something. But that still allowed me to, drive up to where Granny Oak is, have a little walk along there, and then gradually I can walk further and go yomping around onto these really old trees. But yeah, you can do it as you are, can't you? I think.
yeah, and, yeah, you really got me thinking about, like, forest therapy here, because, yeah, like, you are in those groups, right? And, like, so I'm, the guide, and I've been a participant as well, it honestly is, like, one of my favorite things, like, I'll do it
Yeah.
any which way I can. Um, but yeah, like, you're in that group and, like, I'll totally give, like, a prompt or well, an invitation, they're called. And I'll totally give someone a prompt to, like, sit with a tree and, like, like, so you're obviously, like, touching it and, like, hugging it. and talking to it. Like, I mean, like, if you want to, right? So, like, if you're feeling kind of self-conscious or whatever, you're probably not going to talk to the tree. But you might still touch it, or lean
Yeah.
against it or whatever. So, um, I I just have to say, like, going through the training, to be a forest therapy guide, I don't question, like, most of my craziness anymore. I'm like, am I crazy? Like, this is who I am. Like, I hug trees, I talk to them, and I hear them
Yeah.
talk
I think
back.
I'm
So,
getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there.
like, it's become, and like everyone in the group, it's like also the same way, and it's like it's so normalized that like I'm just like this is like real life. Like, like like it's normal life for me. And my husband says I'm crazy, but like, oh well.
My husband, yeah, I think he thought I was crazy, but he used to encourage me because he used to see the difference between when
Yeah.
I left the house and when I came back. And all I'd done was, spend 20 minutes patting Granny Oak and having a little wander around. And I was in such a better frame of mind when I'd come home. So yeah, he used to encourage me.
Yeah. In 20 minutes too. That's really interesting that's really all it takes.
Yeah,
Corey's a
yeah,
total tree hugger. Love
yeah. Yeah,
it.
welcome to our family, Corey.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, what I was gonna say is like it's not crazy for me to like talk to a tree or hug a tree or touch a tree. So we'll be like in a parking lot, and those trees, I don't know if it's like something I watched or whatever, but it might have been uh Peter Wooleben. I forget his how to say his name.
Oh, I
Um,
know. He wrote a book about trees,
The
didn't he?
Secret Life of Trees, I think.
Yes, I've got that book. Yeah, my husband bought it
Okay.
from me, actually. Yeah.
Um, I didn't read the book, but I watched like a documentary on it. And I want to say it was either him or maybe Suzanne Samard. My brain is mush. I'm in perimenopause brain. Um, an ADHD brain and all the things brain probably. But yeah, so in one of those like learnings is like, trees need to be like connected to each other. Like there's that mycelial network
Yeah.
underground and
Yeah.
they share resources with each other. And the trees that are on like sidewalks or in parking lots, like basically like encased in concrete, like they're further away from other trees. And so they're really isolated, and those trees are always the ones that I, like, wanna talk to, um,
Oh,
because, like, they're literally, like, where you park your car and, like,
yeah.
walk to go to the store, and they're literally, like, ignored, like, all the time. There's people around them, but, like,
Yeah.
no one cares, right? Like, they're just parking lot trees, like, and that's how I feel like people feel about it. So, I always make it a point to, like, touch um, any like the closest tree that
Mm.
my car is parked near and just say hello, and like any tree I walk past, like hello. And um my husband's just like, "Oh my god, I don't know her." But like I mean, like I would feel bad if I didn't do it because like they're alive. Like to
Yeah.
me, they're just as alive as like a human being.
Mm.
Um
Well, they
and more
are.
helpful sometimes than some human beings. So like more life-giving, right? So yeah, I definitely want to hit them up and be like, "Hey, how are you? Like you look lovely. Have a good day."
Yeah. And it's interesting you say because they're in some respects a very unnatural environment. They're not in the forest; they are encased in concrete. Because certain trees, because in London, you get plane trees, and they've sort of um, there's there's it's tree lined streets all the way through London that were sort of planted, I think, in the 19th century or even before that. And plane trees, their leaves look like sycamore trees, but London plane trees, apparently their bark, it chips off quite frequently. But that's its survival mechanism because obviously it's taking in all the dust and grime and stuff from the city. But it's then shedding. And so those trees do well in cities, and that tree then it's cleaning the air for us, isn't it? And it's creating a nice, you know, ambience and everything and, you know, landscape as we walk down the street. Um, but, uh, but yeah, I've never thought of that. Yeah, those trees, like, yeah, in parking lots and, in town, are in a less natural environment, aren't they?
Yeah, and now I'm thinking of like whatever like England looks like in regards to that, like when they're planted in the cities and stuff.
Yeah.
And like the older parts of maybe even New York City. Um I am not a city gal, so I don't know what locations in the cities, but I know there's certain parts where like the trees are really old and well, as old as they can be in a city, right?
Mm.
Um but like they're really full and it almost gives you the illusion that like they're close together, which I mean technically they are, like not
Yeah.
necessarily underground, but like up top.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
actually probably underground too, but it's not like a forest, but it's also more
They are close.
full than
Yeah.
like the places they built out my way that are brand new with like baby trees. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that when they're small, it seems like they're so isolated, but when like they're grown,
Yeah.
it seems like they're more like a forest and like
Yeah.
together. So
They will grow near to where I live in the UK. There's a town called Milton Keynes, and 50 years ago it was a small village, and they built it out as a town, and it was actually it's the only English town built on the grid system, which is like common in cities like New York. And I remember when I was a teenager, we used to call it a concrete jungle. I mean, they actually had concrete cows. These cows were iconic now because Milton Keynes it was just this concrete new place where nothing had matured. Um, where now, 40 years later, a lot of those trees are mature, and you drive down sort of all the sort of boulevards are on a grid, and there are mature trees everywhere, and there is a lot of green space, and and it has sort of this sort of city swallowed up lots of little villages and made it into one big place. So I think it was pretty horrendous when they come up with it. But actually now people like living there because there's less traffic, it flows sort of all sort of they've managed to keep cars and people separate, so the people parts are quite pleasant and the car bits, you know, there's not as much congestion. So, um, yeah, so where are you where if it's newer, it will mature.
yeah, okay. That's a
Yeah.
really cool perspective. There's a comment in the chat. Um it is It is long, and I wanna read it.
Yeah. Go for it.
It's not long, but, like, for the chat size, it's long, so
Yeah.
I, like, need a minute. I'm just gonna read it
Mhm.
so it's not an awkward silence. This is from Julie Sunrise. "I always tell trees that they're beautiful. Anything I say slash think to trees, to plants, to the natural world now feels like it's reflected back to me. Meaning when I say you're beautiful, it feels like they're saying the same thing to me. It
Yeah.
feels like for both of us, whatever positive message I share. Same with people. If you realize there's no inside, no outside, any kindness you offer the world is also given to yourself." Yeah, wow, you like really nailed that
Mhm.
sentiment. I
Mhm.
I have goosebumps because that I realize that every single time I'm on a walk is whatever I'm saying to the trees is actually what I'm saying to myself and, like,
Okay.
what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Um, and actually that's reflected back to me through my whole life whenever I talk to friends and tell them things that I love about them or I'm thinking about them or what might help them is literally the things that I, like, learn, right? Um, in the chat, Julie said
Yeah.
something taught her to talk to trees. I don't know if I wanna say it out loud,
Yeah.
um, but, like, a certain, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
substance or
But
something.
good
I'm not too
value.
into, like, what, but, like, that kind of energy of that.
Yeah. It's opened up
Um,
this portal to you, Julie.
yeah, and, like, I find it interesting, like, you can get to, like, that, like, state of, like, where people, like, maybe use certain, like, plant medicine or whatever. You can get there, like, so many ways, like, breath work, plant
Yeah.
medicine. Honestly, like, it sounds weird, but, like, forest therapy is it for me. Like, when you're on a walk being guided, like, as the guide, it's a little bit more difficult, but I remember the very first walk I went on, I felt like like I was, like, on something, and I wasn't.
Mm.
And I was just like, "Wow," like, I can see, like, the stars in the sky, like, through this tree
Yeah.
leaf that had, like that was, like, all bit up by an insect, and it reminded me of, like, stars in the sky, and I was just
Mhm.
like, "Wow, that's really cool. And I don't think I would have seen it any other way, and in that way, unless I was in like that experience.
When you go for a walk in the forest, do you just follow your nose? Do you have any prescribed route where you just think, I just fancy going this way or I'm drawn that way? Because I find when I go, I get drawn to certain directions, or I was
Yeah.
going to do this path, but actually that one looks really interesting.
Yeah, that is yeah. I usually do like I'll just wherever I feel like going, yeah.
Mm.
I'll have like something in mind and then I'll go to that place and then I try my best, right? Cuz like I have these tendencies to like get like things have to be a certain way. And I do my best to like trust and let go. And so when I show up to the place that I felt called to go, I try to just let it call to me naturally and just flow with where I want to go. Like, oh, I really wanted to sit here, but this place is calling me over here, so I'm going to go over there and see like what
Mm.
that's about. And usually I'll find like a different place in the same area that I go to often, but like somehow this place is new and it like helps me see the place in like a different light and like a
Mm.
different energy. And yeah, it's pretty cool if you can just like follow your intuition or your body, like whatever it is that's speaking.
Yeah. It depends where you are. You know, if you're in a place that you know well and you can't get that lost. When I was visiting these forests in Wiltshire, I'm like, I don't want to get lost because I don't know these paths. I was very conscious of, right, you've talked with this way and you've there, so that, I was all conscious all the time of I have to be able to find my way back to the car. But yeah, when I'm in my local place, it's big enough to have a wander, not so big that, you're going to get lost for days or something.
Yeah, that's a valid point. You want to
Yeah.
make sure you know where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. Make
Um,
sure you know enough of the landscape. Yeah.
yeah, which is what guides help with. Like, you say
Yeah.
you don't get lost and stuff. But
Yeah.
for me, like I don't go far typically. Yeah, like I'm not like a hiker.
Yeah.
I just really want to like get to a place and just like sit and become like so still that like I'm part of the landscape.
Julia's saying, yes, it's fun to allow your intuition to guide you on walks, even in cities. I always find something cool when I do that. I do the same, Julia. Again, walk around a city, I used to live in London, or just even when I go for a walk from my house in the evening, I'll take different routes. I'll just, I'll just see where my legs want to take me that evening, and it might be 15 minutes, it might be less, it might be more. I think that's fun yeah. And that's when you find interesting things, isn't it, as well? Yeah. Or interesting trees.
Um, I think my throat wants me to wrap this up. So
Yeah, I think we're at 47 minutes. That's probably a good length, isn't it? So look, thank you everybody who's joined us today. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I guess, yeah, we're not crazy, are we? We are leading perhaps a new wave, a new way of, of being. And I think we do need to trust that. I do trust it, but you just sort of sometimes doubt it. But on the whole, I trust that. And it's really fun to find other other sort of tree highly sensitive people as well. So yeah,
yeah,
thanks everyone here. We'll have a look through the comments afterwards, and but yeah, thank you for being with us today. It's really nice to have this discussion.
yeah. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks, Jolie, and then thanks everyone. Thanks, Corey and Jolie and Eddie and everyone in the comments today. And I don't know that we can see the comments afterwards, Callie. So
Okay, okay. But,
yeah, that is kind of a bummer about Substack Live on that in that aspect. But
yeah.
um yeah, I don't yeah, I was like, I really don't think there is a way to
This does get posted though, doesn't it? You can.
yeah, it'll email it'll notify you that it's ready and then you can add a little more to the post or just send it out
Yeah.
as it is. So like if there was like any links you wanted to add or anything like that, or just like any elaboration. Oh, like the book I talked about, I could probably put that in there too.
Yeah,
So,
put that in on yours. Yeah. That's
yeah,
got a
I'll
name
put
of it
that in
already.
mine.
I'll be
Yeah.
naming you after it. What's that book called again? Lovely. Okay. Well, look, uh, it's been great. Let's finish there. Thank you, everybody. Some of you in the afternoon. I'm in evening. I'm going to cook my tea now.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat my lunch. Yeah, thank you all
Yeah.
for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Lovely.
Bye.
See you. Bye. Thank you.